Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, and good morning to you, John.
Ron.
It's the Bingham boys, Ron Yengich and John Saltas here today, and we've been gone for a while.
Barely recognize you. You have grown a mustache since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, I cut my beard off, and I cut it down to a mustache. How have you been?
Been good. Been around. It's been a decent summer. I'm saving up. September I leave town for a month. I go into Greece for a month every year. Or recently have been doing that for the last several years, many years. But haven't been very far away from home. Fishing once, golf twice, which is a record for me. And then went down to Palm Springs. That was delightful. I'm sarcastic. I'm not a fan.
Well, okay, but are we able to mention why you went down there?
It was our convention of the newspaper, alternative newspaper, news weeklies.
And you got an award.
I did.
And you're not good about talking about that stuff.
No. So anyway, let me tell you about the ride between Barstow and Palm Springs.
All right, but we're not going to get off that. I'll go back to the award, but go ahead.
I did get an award. Pete, my son, he surprised me with it. He kept saying, you should come to the convention this year. And I go, oh, shit, okay. So we drove down, and then on the second night, they had he gets up it's on the stage for some reason, and it turns out to be to introduce me as a recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award for our industry. And I've been a member since 1989 or 89 in the Association of Alternative Newsweeklies. And it's really been the reason we even exist, truthfully, because we were able to, learn a lot from other peers in our industry in other cities without the fear of spilling the beans on anything. It's always good. I mean, they're in other cities. They're going to share their information with us, So couldn't really talk to anybody here. And I had only learned the newspaper business on a napkin. So being in an association that actually taught things was great. Made some great friendships. And a lot of our people have moved on to great things, from production to editorial. One kid on the New York Times staff for a bit, Huffington Post. Production, two of our production artists were very well known. Kat Topaz was one. Bill, did you ever work with her?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, Kat. And so she's up in Oregon. She's turned into a farmer now, but she did beautiful work. Several others, and then, the people we met, like David Carr was a New York Times journalist, passed away, a good friend of mine. And just the people along the way, it was great. So to get a homage from them was nice.
Well, you deserve it. I mean, I've talked about this. You don't like it when I say this, but I think that alternative newspapers in Utah, and there have been a lot of them have failed, but it gives a different voice. It gives a voice to different people and subsets of people that the straight media, for whatever or however you want to call it, has never given to people and still doesn't. And of all the people that have done that, I think that you were at the top of the list in Utah. And I think that most people would acknowledge that. Other people have tried and failed, and other people continue to attempt it. But I think it's an honorable deal because it's really what makes the First Amendment breathe. It gives life to the First Amendment.
It was bittersweet of sorts, because City Weekly, and been around here forever, we also sit in the shadows of two large newspapers for most of that time. And now it's like combined, it's one large newspaper, Deseret News and Tribune. And there was a whole bunch of those guys don't count, meaning us.
Sure.
They were just assholes, frankly, the Institutional Tribune, Deseret News less so. And there were others in other pieces of media. There's some pretty snotty, glossy magazines in this town in that era. So we were hardly ever given any accolade here, which to me, I think, I could give a shit for me. But right. I felt bad, when a guy like Bill, for example, would win an award, or Colby or Eric or any of them, Jerry, great editor, the work that we're all doing, they were doing was never getting proper credit. And it really pissed me. It got under my skin pretty good. I don't have a chip on my shoulder about it. I have a boulder on my shoulder about it. Because those people, they would cite City Weekly and they would say, according to a third party. Right. I go, can you tell us the truth about what's really going on in the city instead of just putting us down? The truth is you're sitting on your ass. We're reporting it. You re-report it and don't credit us. And that's bullshit. So there were a lot of good work going on, particularly in the 90s. Early 2000s, a lot of investigative stuff, which we all see less of now. But, to not give those people credit was a real burn.
Yeah.
And City Weekly, Private Eye, has always had a good reputation nationally, but not it has a good reputation here among people who will admit it, but most of the time they've spent most of their time diminishing our efforts as opposed to,
And yet, the people that read the Private Eye and read the City Weekly are people that continue to do it. It's funny, my neighbor across the street, she was standing outside talking to this lady. Yesterday, I take her garbages out when I take mine. And so this woman says, do you remember me, Ron? And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't. Well, we've met a couple times, and she told me who her brother was, who is a lawyer right now. And she said, I got to tell you, I miss your writing in the City Weekly. Oh, that's been a long time. And she said, no, there were some things I remember about that. I still read it. I always read it. And she said, I remember one line that I viewed in an article you wrote about defending kids that get in trouble. And the line was, nothing good happens after 10 o'clock. And I used that with my children, and I'm using it with my grandchildren. That's a line my dad used, But
I was going to say, I think
but the thing about it is, it's stunning how many of those type of
we
things
get that comment almost daily.
I personally get, and you go, well, God, it's been a long time since I wrote regularly.
I get a packet from. I don't want to mention their name. I've not met them. They've donated to the paper very generously, and that's a new thing, but that's neither here nor there. But they're people I don't know, and I got one yesterday, as you mentioned that. And it's always, wherever they are in the country, they send me a paper from where they are.
Right.
And I love the free press and keep it up. And we're so lucky to have you and this and that. And just these handwritten personal notes from a couple with enclosures and all kinds of stuff. And that's always made the difference to me. And I think to a lot of our people is the same. Just get little thank you email and notes like that come. The people that live for accolades and that kind of stuff, that's just not my shtick. It just never was. And I don't like to go to the parties. I don't like to be a part of them, give or take. But they're nice, and it gives you something, And but the little ones, like the person that's approached you and stuff we hear, that is far, 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 far more rewarding than, somebody has to vote on something.
Well, but
it's from the heart.
But you're responsible for that. You should, and it's great that you got that award.
Thanks.
Whenever I go to a new city, if I stay somewhere, I always look for the alternative paper to see what is happening in the city. Because you get that there, and it isn't glossy, advertised stuff all the time. It is something good. Well,
I'll just tell you one anecdote about it. Yeah, I'm in a room full of these people, and our industry's changed. A lot of old buddies that I had have passed away, besides David Carter, just a lot. And, it's just the nature of it. And some of the papers are no longer around. And so the industry's changed, and the people in the room are the same energy, but a different bunch of people. And the energy now is not all about alternative news weekly, it's just reporting, period.
Right.
There's a new methodology about how you're able to join our association, which is good. And there are a lot of small publications that are really just, skin of their teeth doing Substack stuff and everything else, but they're reporting, and they're way into it. There was so much good energy there. It was fun. Well, the day before, we had a speaker at the luncheon, the guest speaker. Over years past, we've had like everyone from Bill Clinton to Ralph Nader to Oliver Stone to who was that guy that got in the wilt? He got shot. The hell's his name? The pornography guy, Larry Flint.
Oh, Larry Flint, yeah.
Yeah, and Molly Ivins and all this kind of stuff. And this guy gets up, and he's notable. But, he came from a little bit different perspective. And he said at some point, a bunch of people like just you all look alike. You're yuppies. You wear your Hawaiian shirts around. And I looked around. Nobody had a Hawaiian shirt on. I don't even know why he said it. Just cliche. And I thought, okay. So the next day, I put on a Hawaiian shirt. Piss on that, So that's the day they asked me to come up and talk. And so when I did, I was wearing that. It was a Fisher Beer shirt from Fisher Beer, which was cool because now I was speaking and I was being reminded, like, okay, I can still tell somebody stuff and tell me how to dress. Anything can happen. And then wear my shirt. And as I was wearing it, it dawned on me that Fisher Beer is now owned by Colby Fraser. He's one of the owners over there. And Colby was an award-winning investigative journalist for us. won Best Reporter in the State, all kinds of stuff. Stephen Dark, all those guys in that era were really great. And sitting in the audience was another former employee, and he had left the paper. 10, 12 years ago, and so he's sitting in there, and I'm looking at him. Those two guys used to sit next to each other, and it was just kind of cool to have that little memory there, and it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, you were the one that has kind of talked me off of the journalism is not worth the fuck anymore ledge, and I've come back off the edge of it.
It's the what?
Journalism isn't worth the fuck anymore. Is where I have been for a while, just looking into the abyss, and it's a technical legal phrase that we employ, but I think that as I read City Weekly, and I read stuff on Substack, and I read other things that you send me, and my friend Lorenzo Archuleta sends me, and others that are not on major news outlets. You go, yeah, these guys get it. These people get it, and they're from every from every ethnic background, sex, gender, whatever, and I think it's so cool. The question becomes is it sustainable for them? And we'll have to talk
find
about
out.
that
The guy in the audience, I wasn't going to. It was Colin Wolfe was who it was, and Bill knows Colin Wolfe, and Colin left, and he wasn't an owner, but he became one, and now he's part of the deal, and I got to talk to him really good. It was fun because we caught up after a lot of years, and he's a sharp guy, and speaking a different talk, but he's a dedicated guy, just like all the rest of those people who were energetic 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20, and now recently, and he's bringing that to the table. And Pete was my son there, but there's probably 3 or 4 at least or more second generation owners of alternatives now, or publishers, and that's a good thing. So yeah, it's still alive. The need for truth hasn't died. And I was wearing my Make Lying Wrong Again hat too, and people were accolading me about that. Because, we're tired of this bullshit of like everybody that the media has been saying is a lie. That's the lie. That's the lie.
Yeah.
We've never, ever once been threatened with anything illegal or malfeasant with the words we printed. Not once, not ever. But we're considered to be liars, or we don't tell the truth, or the partial truth, or for Christ's sake, if I hear it one more time, it's because Biden did it, I'll just come unhinged.
Well,
or Obama. I'm just so tired of that lineage of lazy thought and lazy people saying those kinds of things. It's just, come on.
Well, no, we've
get back to what the truth is.
We've gotten to that, and again, I hate to always go here. The left has its own problems with that. Political left has its own problems about wanting to make claims that aren't the truth too. But let's just get to Donnie Orange.
The difference is the left is reflective and the right is never reflective.
Well, that is not true. Donald Trump is reflective.
On what?
Well, and his pool.
No, I was going to say Snow White.
No, he's reflective on his pool, and let's talk a little bit about that. Speaking of them, that has been the biggest non-story that has become a story, maybe in history, I think. And it's a non-story simply because the fact that he wanted to fix the reflection pool, but for him it's a reflective pool.
Well, some people use that word reflective pool, and I've never heard that. He said something like that.
Yeah, and so, but the point...
Some people call it, he said, some people call it a pool, some people call it a lake, some people call it a body of water, some people call it a wash basin. But the levels of...
But the point of it is with him, is this is done, I believe, in large part, to deflect the truth of what's going on in the world. These are things that he can put out there that we'll talk about, and we're going to talk about it today. And it's interesting to me on a number of grounds because of where we've gone with something that this man Donald Trump decided he was going to do. He couldn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. Apparently, he's decided that he's going to get the Homes and Gardens Peace Prize, because that's all he's doing now is going around and building stuff to himself. And in regards to the pool, it is a good idea that they put that there a long time ago. I've been by it. We've talked about this.
1922, I believe.
Yeah,
early 20s.
You have, and it is a place of reflection. I mean, it's a place to look back. And
well, it has. Is it not correct of me? Lincoln's on one end and the Washington Monument on the other.
On the other, and you can see them reflected from the pool. But it's a reflection pool, which is to say, you walk by there and you reflect on the history of America and how good it is. You reflect on the phallic symbol that is the Washington Monument, and you go, that guy was a great guy. You know, that's amazing about him. I want to learn more about him. Or you turn to the right and you look over at Lincoln and Lincoln Memorial, and you go, that's amazing. You know, this guy died for us. Yeah. We reflect on it. But not Donald Trump.
He doesn't have that capacity.
Because it has to be a show. Everything for him is a show.
It's never the empathy side. It's never the sympathy side. It's never something else side. You know, he I don't know what motivated him to have it other than what is clearly obvious to me. There's two. Like you said, it's the deflection because there's other stuff going on, like the thousands of times he's named in the Epstein files, and you can end every sentence with that when you're talking about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because everything does come back to that. He's admitted he's protecting his friends.
Deflecting from the war he started in Iran.
So anyway, out of the blue, we got to fix this thing. Why? Why? When I was there, and I've been there quite a few times, and you know, you look at it, and I've been to lots of places. I'm not. I would say, well, I will say it lived up to its hype on what it's supposed to be, but when you walk to water's edge, it wasn't full of goldfish. You know, it wasn't that pretty, and shit blows in it. It's easily going to get dirty. It's full of trees all around there, and leaves and pollen, and tourists leaving garbage. That's going to happen. But at no point did I think, well, it needs to be blue and crystal clear, because that's not reflective at all, you know?
No.
You know, boy, would this look nicer. It's not an object that you want to make nicer. And it comes down to everything else he does. You know, he has some friend of his that copped him some money, and he happened to be his pool boy, and he got a donation, and let me find a job for you. Now, there's 1 million swimming pools in Florida. He could have had him fix any of those as a big reward. But he didn't. He took on
Or they could have had him to fix other things that would help benefit society.
He picked our reflecting pool and put it in there. And then, you know, we all know what happened next. You know, it was a botched job from start to finish.
There's a surprise.
It was done poorly. The guy didn't know what he was doing, and other contractors gave bad advice. It wasn't done with anybody looking at it with like everything else. No plan, no other input, just fix it. The guy walks off with $1 million on a $10 or $14 million project. The contractor. He's
$1.25 million.
Yeah, whatever. So, and then all of a sudden, you know, the algae stuff. Well, shit. You know what? I changed the water in my hot tub recently, and I got a bunch of algae in it. I had to change the motors and stuff. So I go to one of the spa places in town and said, what happened? And it wasn't algae, but it was kind of scummy, if you will. I'd never had that before. He says, well, did the guy change the water? Did you flush it out? Did you flush the water out of the old pipes before you put new water? And I go, no. He says, well, there's your problem. And I go, sort of like the reflecting pond.
It's exactly what happened.
Well, they didn't do that right. So all of a sudden it's full of algae, and you know, the lefties are going, yay, more algae. You know, we need more algae. You know, it's like, because it made Donald Trump look humiliated.
Sure.
And actually, he doesn't need anything more to look humiliated. But by them doing that, it gave a bunch of people, you know, the opportunity to say, see, they hate Donald Trump. Well, that was a given. But I think, and then it was like, well, somebody jumped in and, first off, the thing can't be cut. Didn't he say that? He did. He said, can't cut it. It was indestructible. You can't. He did originally say, whatever's there, you can't cut it. It is so tough. Nothing can happen. And that turned into somebody slashed it viciously.
Well, he started out with, this is going to be the most beautiful pool in the world. You know, they compared it with pictures of Versailles and the Taj Mahal and places like that. And that this was going to be the best, and it was going to be so perfect that there wouldn't be any problems with it. And the blue was going to be the brightest, most beautiful blue.
But why?
Well,
The sky's blue.
I understand, but
Sky reflects.
I
That's
don't
the whole
know.
point.
Maybe he's thinking of his own blue eyes. But on the other hand, he doesn't understand any of that. It's just shit that he makes up.
He does, as he goes.
You know, I mean, this is like the art teacher teaching you about art, and they see things in it that you don't see, but you still write down on your test that, yeah, that's what happened. It's interesting, the word reflecting or reflection. What is the word in Latin?
I don't
Or
know.
I mean,
Latin.
in Greek.
Swimming pool's piscina. Is that what you said? What'd you
No,
say? Oh.
reflecting or reflection.
I don't. It's actually a word also in English. It's antanasklasi. And so, like the root derivative, we don't. I mean, to use that word in English, it's actually an English word too. The anti. The first part is like anti, like against or come back, right?
Yeah.
Clow is the bend or whatever. So what it is, it's the act of something being there and then coming back at you.
Right.
We use the word reflection, and that's how
No,
that word works in Greece. It comes back at you.
Yeah. In Latin, it's kind of interesting. It comes from the Latin verb redo, or it can also, there's another Latin verb, reputo. Puto is to think. And so it is to rethink something. It's when you're rethinking something. That's what reflection is. And the point of it is really pretty interesting, though, because that verb also in Latin, at least I think this is interesting, is it doesn't only mean to reflect upon or to rethink something. It can also be used as part of the verb vituperative, okay? And it means blamer, the person who blames.
Well, that's got a double usage there, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I ran across
the guy who doesn't reflect but is vituperative.
Yeah, and who is there to blame. And I thought it was so perfect. We should rename it when Donald Trump is out, and here's what I think we should do. I think we should put another monument to Donald Trump at the edge of the reflecting, and it should be him sitting on a toilet, okay, a very large, and it can be gold, and he could be orange, and we could put him there, but he would have to have fallen off of the toilet with his fanny in the air, because, in my opinion, that's all he does. Is let me finish.
Yep.
He reflects on things. And then for the most of America, the people that work, the working people, the middle class, all he does is he has his ass in the mooning position where he's basically saying, I don't care about you. And any reflection I have is only about what's good for me. So that's my...
and he's,
my goal.
he is that way, and he's vindictive. So, I don't know if I all the way in on that analogy, but I got the visuals just too disturbing for me there, Ron. But,
well, I mean, it's no more disturbing.
Well, look, he threw in one of his AI generated things. He threw flying over an airplane and dumped out a bunch of shit over people saying people that a lot of us respect and like and whatever. He's doing that again because he's taking it out. He lost the reflecting pool fight. He wanted his new. Is she head of what's it? Pirro.
Janine Pirro. She's the U.S. attorney. She's the U.S. attorney for
he said,
the
okay,
District of
this is my attorney general. You work for me. You go after these people now. So they picked this guy to be the victim of. He's the guy that caused it. This guy who viciously attacked. Hey, hi, Alex. We remember Alex, don't we?
I have to call you back.
So, anyway. He wants her to prosecute the guy, of course, and she's now dropped the charges, not once but twice, I believe. Here's the thing. He didn't attack anything viciously. He uses that word over and over and over again.
It's one of his favorite words.
He uses it on anything. And they are vicious. Those Democrats are vicious people. This guy in Wisconsin, he's a vicious person. In Minnesota, vicious. And the attack, can you imagine attacking a pool viciously? I mean, how do you attack water viciously? In any way, shape, or form, water's never been the object of an attack, even now, nor has any water pool lining. Here's what's funny. So this guy gets the gets the hack for this. They prosecute him or try to get it ready to.
His name
There were more people walking in that reflecting pool in the movie Forrest Gump than were anywhere near the reflecting pool when this shit was going down. Here's this thing. Go ahead. But I have a friend of mine who lives in Washington, D.C., dear friend, lifetime friend, who I said, we were talking about it, and I said, this guy, I said, I can't believe that Trump's going after this guy. And she goes, Davey? I go, no, I think his name's Hearn. She goes, yeah, Davey Hearn. I go, oh, Davey. She called him informally Davey, not David, because she knows him.
Okay.
He's a friend.
Yeah, he's an Olympian.
He's an Olympian. Well, we knew him as an Olympian canoeist. She corrected me. She said, no, they got it wrong. He's a kayaker. Doesn't matter. She said, Davey is the sweetest, nicest, most gentle, mellow person you'll ever meet in your life. Vicious is not part of his vocabulary. What Davey does every day, he gets on his bicycle and rides 25 to 50 miles through Washington, D.C., and people wave, and he's just reflecting on life in his life. He's 67 years old or something like that. And he's just about his way. He said on that particular day, he takes different routes. He just happened by, and what's going on here, because he was, somewhat aware, whatever. And she goes, everybody knows, he touched the water, But he didn't pull things aggressively out of it. He did none of that. I go, well, they say he did. She goes, the last thing he'd have of any possession in his life is box cutters, because he's not a violent person of any kind. So why would he go on a 50-mile bike ride? He might take soda pop, but not box cutters. And this is like, they got the wrong guy here. But that wasn't enough for Trump. After Pirro said no, they throw her under the bus. She's now resurfaced, and Trump is saying, Janine, you better rethink this and go after him again. That when people said no kings and all that shit, what we were talking about, we don't want this behavior, there it is again. And it's in black and white, America. You can see this guy is behaving as if this is his country, his DOJ, his prosecutors, his everything, and to his benefit only. And that is king stuff. It's authoritarian stuff. You can't deny it any longer, people. You can't.
No, what happened, the deal with it, I want to talk a little bit about the prosecution, but just getting to Hearn, there were things floating in the pond because they had done a poor job with it, and the allegation turned out to be that he picked up a piece of the detritus that was on the pond. That's what they're now saying. And in thinking about that, I could see why Trump would, he would just skim something off of the pond, would be upset about that, because if there's any skimming going on in Washington, D.C., it's got to be him and his family. So that may have been what started him on that. But the fact of the matter is that when the President of the United States tells the
Attorney General.
The U.S. District Attorney for the District of Washington, that they've got to prosecute somebody, and he singles them out, that is a no kings issue. But when that lawyer, and she is a lawyer, she's graduated from law school and apparently years ago prosecuted stuff, but basically she's a very nice looking television star of stuff that she did. That's why she's the U.S. attorney. Not because she deserves that, not because she's a career prosecutor.
She's one of 35 Fox alumni who were in the Trump admin.
Not because she's a former federal prosecutor that knows what the hell she's doing. It's because she has to have her lips fixed every 2 months for kissing his ass. That's it. That's the only reason. And you shouldn't be offended by me saying that, because that's the truth. People in her own Justice Department told her, we can't prosecute this. That's not a crime. She not only rejects that, she finds a way of charging him with a felony. This isn't akin to what it would normally be, which is the reverse of littering. They charge him with a felony. He's got some good lawyers. They go to court. The judge, on his own, says, what are we doing here? How did you get this indictment? That's the question. And the defense attorneys are asking, they're entitled to it, we want the grand jury testimony in this. They're entitled to most of that. The lawyers that are representing her in court go, we can't do that, and you're going to end up having to do it. Then she dismisses. She dismisses it because it's likely they lied to the grand jury. It's likely that they gave the
Who are they, Ron?
the the Justice Department lawyers that were working for her.
So if we saw the evidence, it would reveal lies that
That's what most people think.
foot wedges, little golfing foot wedges, lies were the big lies.
And that's how they got them to indict. And she's smart enough to realize, even she is, that that's a crime. So she decides to dismiss it. And then what does Donald Trump do? Donald Trump does to her exactly what he did to Davey. He starts attacking her in the media, threatening her for not doing her job on a winner case. And he knows, because he knows everything. And so now they're talking about refiling this case against him. And the U.S. Attorney's Office is in a real bind here, because judges around the country, and this is the point I want to make, are fed up with this. They're fed up with using the Justice Department as just doing his bidding whenever he wants it. Because there are some of us that still believe in a system of justice that is colorblind, it's blind to wealth, it's blind to power. Now, we know that doesn't always exist. But now judges are finally having guts enough to go, wait a minute. So they are now, if they do refile this, I think they are this may be one of those small Watergate points where a judge takes matters into his hands and says, no, we're going to get to the bottom of this. I want to know what happened. I want to know why you charged him originally when the evidence seems to show that your own people told you not to do it, and then you did it anyway, and then you dismissed it, and then that big orange guy says you got to file it again, and you filed it again. Because America isn't intended to be the sandbox for only one guy to build whatever he wants and do whatever he wants. And that's really what's happening. We can joke about, I really mean it, about the building the monument to him where he is sitting on a toilet, at least, because that's how he's treated everybody. His own people, he's treated them that way. He's lied about everything. There are dead Americans because of the war in Iran. There are dead Venezuelans because of his war against Venezuela. There are dead people that were just in fishing boats because he and Hegseth decided that they were just to be tough guys. And America's got to decide. And this is where I am. America's got to decide. Do you want somebody who's honest and may have to tell you stuff that you don't want to hear? Or do you want just somebody that acts like a mob boss all the time and tweets out lies, just lies about people, calls them names, and that is the person that runs the country? Because if you want that, you've seen what it's like. There's no more blinders here.
So, yeah.
The painting is open.
That's the thing.
The movie's been played. There are no sequels coming. And you have to make up your mind about it. And it's a tragedy. When people get sued or you're charged with a crime, even though you know that you're not guilty, maybe even because of that even more, it scares you. You run through your mind about your life and how you felt about your life and trying to be a good guy. Supposedly I'm sure he was a good guy. Or the two people that were killed in Minneapolis, because they were called vicious too. Remember?
I do.
They were
Very
vicious
well.
too, and we now know that's a lie. And so at some point, America, then you have to say that really isn't what we want. And the time has come.
Well, therein lies the irony, because, of all the bad things he did in his first, he's 80, the first 79 years of his life, 30% or more of Americans thought that was pretty cool. To be that kind of a person that he was in the history of this, where he began to be a public figure. We found out later about his derelictions during the 60s, but then the 70s when he became a public figure, he wasn't well liked, he wasn't well respected, he bankrupted here and there, he did all this kind of bad stuff. He's in the Epstein files, he's got all these things. You can even say, well, he never did it. I can't even believe anybody in my circle would even be accused of that. And yet he's accused of that from the 1970s and 80s onward, of that same crime over and over and over again. It's not an accident that he's accused of that. It just isn't. And so like all of these bad things, the corruption and everything else, there's just the indictments and every failure along the way was never bad enough for this guy, because there was always a bigger villain out there. Biden, but Obama, but Clinton. And you know what? That was a great argument against, because it gives the people who are afraid to really look at the truth that nefarious mythical victim, while they continue to deny. And now all of a sudden, the smallest thing he ever did, because it's only $1 million, and that's not very much money in his world, or it's only just a bunch of water, that's the one that collapses him a little bit with his base. Same, because it's finally at the level that everybody can look at. Everybody can look at and say, this is farcical. This is baloney. What are we doing? Where have we been?
And wouldn't it be interesting?
That's the reflection.
Yeah, and would it be interesting, you're going to hate this, is that, and the one that ultimately takes him down is a woman whose name in Cajun French means boat for shallow water.
Pirro. Yeah, that's a Hank Williams.
Yeah, exactly.
Pirro down on the bayou.
Yeah, on the bayou. That would be cool. I mean, that would make my day only because of that. But
well, life has a funny way of making these
we will either look at this and go, I don't care, and I got enough redneck in me to understand that people might get irritated at this. I don't care if you're redneck Bubba down on the farm. I don't care if you're living in eastern Kentucky or southern Utah and you go, the woke people don't care about me, because there's some truth to that, okay? But you know what? This guy lied to you on something because he thinks you are too stupid to understand. And I hope that you get that, because finally, maybe we're at a point where none of us can think in the terms of the billions of dollars that him and his family have stolen from us, and also his buddy Musk and the Amazon guy and the guy and all the rest of them that stole from all of us. Well, they make all of these, they build all of these.
We said it a long time ago, we need a new currency. It's not money.
Yeah,
money is, we need a new scorecard. Everybody that says that, like Hannity did the other night, he was on, some Democrat was there talking about, socialist Democrat, they're the rage now, right? And so Hannity's going, yeah, but you want to tax billionaire, tax higher and stuff. And he just drilled this guy over and over and over again, and saying the most arcanely stupid thing he's ever saying. And he's a guy that says a lot of dumb shit. If the billionaires are the genius class of our society, or they're the best and the brightest of all of us, and if not for them, we would. And I'm looking at the screen, I'm going, you work for one of the creepiest billionaires on the face of the earth, Rupert Murdoch, and you have the audacity to tell this guy, as you put loads of money in your pocket for telling lies, and you've been sued about it, that somebody else should worry about paying their health care or just getting a decent education. The very basics are now off the table for the guys like Hannity and the Trumps, because they're allowed to just keep on taking and taking.
Yeah, but there are people in the Republican Party that have a heart.
Tell me. I know you're going to crack a joke so I can see it on your face.
Well, no, it's not a joke. It's the truth.
Well, there is, because
let me tell you.
Hold on, before you go there, but on social media,
then you take over.
I'm not going to do that. I never do that. But I was just going to say, on social media, there's a lot of those people with heart before you get to the real list. Every day I turn it on or go in there and somebody's saying, I regret what I did. I didn't talk to my mother or father for 10 or 15 years. I broke up with my spouse. My family doesn't talk to me, and I regret it. I regret voting for Trump 3 times because he betrayed and lied to us. It's coming around, and those are the ones.
Well, I know they're there, and I know there are people.
Who you got there, Ron?
With real heart. I'm finding it here. I can't read my notes because my eyes are going. I'm old. Well, the guy that has the most heart, and this, when I read this, it brought tears to my eye. I literally, and I cry easily anyway. We all know that I'm emotional. But and don't interrupt me here, when Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley got up in Congress and bid farewell to his beloved vacuum, Beth, a vacuum that had been in his family for 52 years. And with halting statement said that Beth had been so good to his family, but he had to get rid of her. Why? Because she's not safe anymore, because there's been some problems with her electrical cord and people could get hurt. And he wanted to give this speech.
Beth. It's a Senate floor speech?
Yes.
He's older, and Iowa deserves what they get for Grassley.
I'm not done. And he talked about her in these loving terms, because he talked about how hard she had worked for the family and all of that, and that she couldn't be fixed anymore because there wasn't the ability to do it. And I'm with him. Now, I haven't heard Grassley or anybody like him talk about the hard-working people that they've kicked out of this fucking country simply because their skin tone is wrong and they believe they need to go back south across the border, when they have also cleaned houses for people like Grassley and a lot of other people. I have a cleaning lady that helps me. Great lady, okay? He didn't talk about them. Trump hasn't talked about them.
Well,
they've driven them out of the country. I'm going to go on for a second. They've driven them out of the fucking country, and they've treated them like garbage. No one in the Republican Party has stood up in the well of the Senate and said, we've got to thank Jose and Gonzalez and all of these people that work so hard. We're revising our immigration rules, but we're going to give them a path back. None of them said that. None of them worried about their electrical cords or their kids. None of them put, I'm sure she is going to be being placed in a place of honor in Grassley's house. Good for him. He's an old guy. I'm an old guy. I understand that type of thought process about going into the past. They haven't ever talked about the miners. They love coal. The incidence of black lung disease in coal mining areas of the country have gone up, and the benefits have gone down. But I haven't heard Grassley talk about that, about those hard workers or the farm workers or the people that own farms in Iowa or other places because of Trump's tariffs, who are suffering, people that voted for them, people that expected him to care enough about farmers as he does about a fucking vacuum. But you know what? We will never hear about it. We won't hear about it because they don't care. And here's where we get to something else you wanted to talk about. There are a few, but there aren't enough Democrats that are going to stand up and call him out for that.
There's three things at play here. One is that we actually let this happen on the floor of the Senate, and these people tell us all the time how hard they work, but they can get up there and make some kind of phony speech to a vacuum on our dime, and that's crazy. The second part is if he had a heart and if he really cared, then he would have lived up to what his fellow Republican Kristi Noem did and just shot the damn thing.
There you go.
Saying something like that makes Kristi Noem look like, well, maybe she had a right to shoot her own, what was it, a dog or a horse? I don't remember.
And horses and anything else.
Put out of its misery. Grassley, just unplug the son of a bitch, call up to somebody and get $1 out of it and put it away. But he didn't. He had okay.
You know what else he could do? He could call Michigan, where in Michigan, the Trump administration and their policies with tariffs and trade and all of this stuff, there's a factory in a small town in Michigan that just closed this week. And you know what they make? They make musical instruments, tubas and trumpets and stuff like that. Well, because of Trump, and
tariff, is that what you mean?
Yeah, because of Trump's his economic policies. They're building, that company's building a $21 million factory in Jinsu, China, and they're going to go there. And in the meantime, they're manufacturing to a place in Elkhart, Indiana that is non-union, okay? Now, Grassley was concerned about somebody getting hurt from Beth. the vacuum. But he's not concerned about those people that worked there for 40 years that were hoping for a retirement, that how they're going to feel, how they're going to make their payments. He's not concerned about that. We know Trump isn't because he said it. And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about him being worried that the people that go into the mines in this country can be hurt because we don't have any oversight under Trump as to what happens in industrial sites like that. And it's just bullshit, and it should piss you off. And I thought it was pretty funny when I read that, but the more I thought about it, the angrier I got.
No, he never asked a single hard question any of these recent hearings in Congress, not a one.
Nothing. And you know what? That's how it's going to be. So here's my point to America, and this can be whether you're a Democrat or socialist Democrat or redneck Democrat or whatever, blue Democrat, blue dog Democrat. It's time you guys start talking about this stuff, okay? Stop talking about Epstein for a while. We all know that. Get off your asses and start challenging some of these people in the Republican Party that stand up and say stupid crap like this on the floor of the Senate because you got video of it, and then run on that. Americans may have been stupid for a while, but we're over our stupidity. The people that are sticking with that, we can't do much about it, but we can humiliate them with the words from their own party. And as for Republicans, it's time that you wise up. People aren't, there are some people still afraid of the word socialism until it's explained to them, which the Democrats have to do a better job of, which means this, that we have a social contract with people to make certain things don't happen to them. If you get sick, there's health care. If we go to war, we take care of you when you come back. We do those things. That's what the socialism of the Democratic Party has always been. It's been social doctrine that says we take care of the little guy because the big guy has enough to take care of themselves. And as we talk about that, we changed the tax laws in this country to make sure that unusual wealth made by people who don't do anything but invent TikTok and my space and your space and everybody else's space, that they don't deserve to be able to control everything.
It will take those people to rise the elevation of shame from the entirety of your life and mine. I don't remember who said it. It could have been Eisenhower. It could have been Truman. It was somebody back then. This is a horrible paraphrase, but it was something like, whenever, he said the definition of the word socialism is, if it's good for the people, then the Republicans will call you a socialist, something like that. And that's gone on for entirety. And now it's back to communism. We've slipped past socialism because we've seen that it's okay to have a socialist who pays himself grossly over and over and over again, and they defend that. So now we're all communists. The Democrat Party is always now full of communists, and I go, I don't think so. Other countries have a real communist party, and we're not switching this. And by the way, which party in power is now taking government and placing it into the ownership of private enterprise? And I think it's the Trump administration, if I'm not mistaken. Is that who's president right now?
Yeah.
And is that not a non-democratic tenet that our government would own pieces of public companies or privately traded companies? It astounds me that the people doing it are pointing the fingers. And all I've ever done in my life, and I just heard you say it, just pay her down. Just get us health care like they have in those horrible countries called, among the Scandinavian countries. Just let me go get a shot when I need a shot, or pay 15 cents for a pill instead of $25. It's nuts. When it's all said and done, people don't want to pay higher taxes to pay for this, or my taxes are being wasted because all these immigrants are on welfare. It's horseshit, but that's the line. And at the end of the day, you're still paying, but it's going, instead of to a social cause, it's going to a private family. And it's the same amount of money. We're still getting health care. We just pay for it differently. And somehow it's better to pay it to a guy with a yacht who doesn't even pull over when there's a family in distress in the middle of the sea. That's Zuckerberg. He did that the other day. And they called on his boat to rescue somebody. Nobody's home. Don't pick up. These people don't give a shit about you.
No, they don't. And the part of it is that when you get to this point, you have to say to yourself, why are they doing this? That's
their scorecard, Ron. Their scorecard is a mess. It's all about accumulation, wealth, and power.
Bingo. And you know what? And a lot of the people that voted for him have the same faith that I do. And they're not reading the right thing. Stop reading the Wall Street Journal and go back and read the Gospels. If you consider yourself a Trump Republican because he's all for your faith, he's not. It's a lie. When his vice president wants to tell the Pope about Catholic social policy, he wants to tell him, Peckerwood Vance. There are good people that come from Kentucky. I love the state. Went to college there, and I love it, okay? But let me tell you what. Peckerwood Vance doesn't understand social policy, and he doesn't set it for the Roman Catholic Church. And so I'm speaking directly to you people. Understand.
I think he does know social policy, Ron. I think he's a smart guy.
I don't.
I know, okay, but I think he's smarter than the average bear. I think what he is a dangerously smart guy who's willing to lie and say things because he knows what the pressure points of it are. Trump does it because he grew up that way. Vance is more maliciously a liar. I think he knows because he said the exact opposite. He's changed the course of his thinking over time. Yeah. So he's not saying because he doesn't know. Yeah. He came to the belief at one point that Trump was the worst thing in the existence of entire humanity. He said basically that, and now he's on the corner.
I'm not saying he doesn't know anything.
Yeah, I'm not. He's not a dummy. Is my point. I'm not saying he's so damn smart. He's not that way.
I'm not saying he doesn't know anything. I know this. When he talks about it as a professed Christian Catholic that stuff.
That's dumb.
No, he's not. Because in point of fact, much of what we do as far as social nets and that are concerned comes from the teaching, the Christian teaching, and that is you look out for the needy.
Well, if you do that in Utah, they kick you out of the church for condemning the prophet. You do that on the political stage against the Catholic Pope or anybody else of the entity of power, and they go, yeah, he's right.
Well,
and
some
I go,
do,
nah, that's nuts.
I think the reckoning in this election that's coming up, I think the reckoning for these people is going to be an interesting. I hope I'm not wrong, and I hope that we don't come out where the Democratic Party and the independents that are running against Republicans do so many really stupid things that they're able to talk about that and not about what Trump and his people have done in these last 4 years.
If there will be an election at all, because Trump has put everything in motion to have this spilled out, this next one, if he does not stop it at the big onset, he's already claiming fraud in an election that hasn't taken place over a system that's not broken. Even last night, this stupid, pillow guy gets beat by over 10% in their primary. So he's going to get crushed by the Democrat, who she runs against. He's not going to win. And right away, he starts this. There's anomalies in the voting process, which are what? They count votes. And this whole big fear about, election fraud and people voting, they're not on the rolls and they're not on, they're dead people. I think in Utah, they found 25 over the course of millions and millions of votes cast, 25. And in no state have they ever found a higher percent.
And isn't it interesting?
And somehow that's turned out to be the battle cry, like the Mike Lees and everybody else. Well, you got to have ID to buy a beer at the Brewer Stadium. Why don't you have to show ID to vote? Well, it's not broken. But I'll tell you what, though, if you want to fulfill your argument, let's just pass that out, that I don't need an ID to get a beer.
Well,
how's that sound? Let's just do that.
I bought beer and other things at Brewer Stadium of higher alcoholic
whiskey. So yeah,
so,
but that's not even the point.
I didn't need an ID.
Okay, right.
I did not need an ID.
And the process is safe. And one person that I've come to really like and respect, although I don't know that if I sat in the same room, I know that I have a good conversation with the woman, because it turns out that my great-great-grandfather was the first mayor of Spanish Fork, and that's where her lineage comes from at the same era. I found this out on social media, believe it or not.
We're back to my big fat Greek wedding.
We are, but on my other side. So that's our lieutenant governor, Deidre.
Yeah.
And she
Good
says
for her.
over and over and over, she's towing the line. She has more courage than every male Republican in this state of political office. Stack them together, stack everybody that's Republican in the House, the Senate, and Governor Cox especially. Add them all together. They cannot accumulate the depth of integrity that Deidre has. And this is just an incredible factor because she's not getting the credit she deserves for this. The Republican Party toasted the one good Republican they've had in office in the past 30 years, Olene Walker, and they threw her under the bus too.
Right.
And now they're doing it. They're not right yet doing that to Deidre, to her, but
they're not supporting her.
Yeah, but she's braver. She has more integrity than all of them, and she stands by it. She's even on social, if you've seen it, mock Trump a little bit online, like, you know, and it's not in harsh ways, just kind of like retorts.
I don't do social.
I know, but it's okay. But I just want to give her a total shout out
100%.
She is not wrong. And it's her job, and she is not backing down. If Trump said, "Give me 11,000 votes here," she'd tell him to take a hike right away. You know.
No,
she's good at this.
She would say flip to him. There's no question about it. But I just think that some point in our lives, or maybe after we're dead, this is going to be written, and she's going to be a star of this.
I hope so.
She is. And the other thing is, I believe that she should be our next Secretary of War because clearly these testosterone injections are not working for Hegseth and the people. So maybe we need a strong-willed woman to be doing that job and bringing some truth to that job.
Because who was the kid that was from North Carolina? He was in a wheelchair, and he was the representative down there for a while. And they boxed him out on some scandal or whatever. But on his departure, he said, "Yeah, the truth's going to come out." And he's still deeply Republican about the gay cabal of the Republican office holders. And he was hinting that there was stuff going on in D.C. that's the Republicans really don't want out. And everybody goes, "Yeah, that's Lindsay." Well, it turns out it's Lindsay and a whole bunch of other ones apparently. And then recently, Hunter Biden has said,
I haven't read this.
Yeah, and Hunter Biden said the same thing. Like somebody, Anderson Cooper tried to bait him into saying, like, who are these people that are, and Anderson, or Don Lemon maybe. But anyway.
All gay people look alike to you.
Yeah, sort of like, yeah. And he goes like, I'm not going to go there, Hunter Biden. I'm not going to go there. I'm in enough trouble already with these people. And he kept on goading him to name names. He said, I can't do it. And he said, "Are you?" And then Hunter Biden slyly, because this guy's pretty damn smart, he goes, "You're not asking me to say anything about Josh Hawley, are you, Hawley? Do you mean?" And he named like 4 or 5 other people.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and this is crazy. So guess who was now on social media shown to be kissing a male intern or something else? It's Josh Hawley, the guy that ran away on January 6th, ran down the hallway with all that piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
And then Hegseth, you're right. If he went through any football drill at Bingham High School, the way he ran with those American Army vet people or Marines, and whatever the hell they were, somebody would have said, "You know what? Let's just break his leg now because we're going to save his life by not letting him get killed in practice in a game."
I don't care who's gay or not. I mean, that's
this isn't about gayness. It's it's about when people who deny it and then hurt other gay people.
That's what I was getting to.
Oh, then okay.
God
damn it.
Is that I don't believe it's up to anybody to out another individual. I don't. I have gay friends, and one friend that happened to. Really heartbreaking. Okay, it's none of anybody else's business. But on the other hand, when you're pushing that narrative, then the chickens are going to come home to roost, man. I mean, they got to come home to roost. Yeah. And so, and they're going to roost on you. And it is tragic that we're talking about this stuff, although it needs to be talked about. And we're in a shooting war with a country that is actually beating us. And we're not focused on getting out of that war, finding a way to maybe be a leader in the world where we find a way to settle a problem in the Middle East that is going to go on forever until adults get to the table and talk about it.
This is where the issue becomes the bigger issue for us, because people in that position are blackmailable.
Yeah.
And you have compromat, which is supposed to be over from Russia, I shouldn't say supposed, alleged to be from Russia for decades. The Epstein files are all about that. You cannot go public, because if you do, I'm going to show these photos.
Right.
And if you do this or that, I'm going to show you this email, or I'm going to bust you out of your job. And the same thing happens at the political level. Were any of these people that are supposedly, of any kind, by the way, you don't have to be gay to be blackmailed.
No.
So, how much of that is being used as the cudgel to keep these people in line? I suspect it's a lot.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it. I just hope people look at the simple things so you don't get too far in the woods and go, he lied about a reflecting pool. He lied about it, and then he sent lawyers to lie to the court about it. Does that mean that I have to worry about if my son or daughter get arrested, that's going to become the standard in America, that the prosecutor just gets to go in and lie because somebody above them wants to get that person? It really becomes that, at some level, it all trickles down and pisses all over all of us unless you stop it. And it's time, I think, for people to really look at it and go, I'm sorry. I apologize. You know what?
I've been wrong.
I was wrong. Nothing bad about saying you were
change
wrong.
Parties. You don't have to come to my house for dinner.
No.
But by God, you've been wrong. Fess up. Hey, by the way, that was a good reflective little way to end it, and I think we should go, huh?
I'm already out of here.
I got to go.
I'm out of here.
So am I.
Peace and love, everybody. And
thank you. And to anybody from Bingham, just remember that we forgot to mention Bingham. It's on our minds. And yes, we will absolutely try to get Tom Lavatt on the show.
Right. Tommy Lavatt was inducted into the Hall of Fame in Green Bay, and his new book is out. You can get it.
From the Copper Pit to the Super Bowl, something like that.
Yeah.
See you, Tom.